Hi, today we'll be discussing the unit number 6, recruitment and selection in an organization. We have the introduction, the unit aim is over here. Basically, learner will have an understanding and skills needed to manage recruitment and selection process to ensure the appointment of suitable person. So basically, the company will identify the matching of the prospective candidate to the given specific job of whatever the department. Moving on. So we do have a basic introduction of the unit. The success of an organization depends, as we mentioned over here, in part of employing the right people. So that's one of the key phases you should have to understand. That's about employing the right person to the right job. Okay. So the recruitment and selection process aim to ensure that personnel of the right caliber with suitable expertise and experience are selected to fill vacancies. How organizations establish, they have a staffing requirement. You should have a staffing requirement. The need to be met is identified in this unit. Then again, you have something called job analysis, which will specify the expertise, skills, and capacity that are required for a particular job. Then again, another section you will have to know, that's the staff cost, which is applicable for you to source prospective candidates for the particular job. The organization should know how to manage the cost in addition to employing people. Now you should have the organization should have and ensure that the processes and procedures are involved in recruitment and selection, in addition to meeting organizational needs that are lawful and comply with internal organizational policies. It has to comply with internal organizational policies, which themselves must incorporate legal requirements by considering the topic of recruitment and selection. By completing this, the learners will understand how having the right staff contributes to the achievement of organizational purposes. Right staff that contributes to achievement of organizational purposes. So we'll be discussing during this recording on learning outcome 1 and 2. Learning outcome 1 is about analyzing personal requirement for job vacancies. Within the learning outcome 1, you have 3 subheadings as about analyze personal requirements for specific vacancy within an organization. Then again, we've got 1.2, produce a job description, specify the vacancy within an organization. Then again, the third one, for you to have produce a person specification with a specific vacancy within an organization. So the first one will be a person specification, personal requirement, then again job description, then again person specification. So these are the 3 elements we'll be discussing on learning outcome 1. Then again on learning outcome 2, we do have understanding how employment legislation affects the recruitment personnel. Within that, you have 2.1, explain the purpose of current employment legislation when recruiting personnel. Then again 2.2, it would evaluate how employment legislation is incorporated into the organizational policies and procedures for the recruitment and selection of personnel. So let us have a look at learning outcome 1 in detail. I'll be skipping the learning outcome 3 and 4, which will be discussed in the next presentation. Okay, so we have here is job analysis. So we are discussing a specific vacancy within an organization. Job analysis is a primary tool in personal management. In this method, a personal manager or the director of recruitment or the head of HR tries to gather and synthesize and implement the information available regarding the workforce in concern. So that's about the workforce in concern. Then the head of recruitment or the personal manager must undertake job analysis as to put the right person to the right job. So you do the right job analysis mainly to do two things. You will get the right person. That's the first one. Then again the second one. So you'll have two things: right person to the right job. You do have a small recruitment process on your right. You can have a look at this over here. Then again, we are having a look at how the information is gathered to have the job analysis. So first you have nature of job required in concern. Then again, nature and size of organizational structure, the type of person required to fit the structure, the relationship of the job with other jobs in concern. Then again, you have kind of qualifications and academic background required for the job. So those are the information that need to be gathered for you to have a proper job analysis. Then again, you will have some more additional requirements that can be considered when gathering information. Provisions such as physical condition to support activities of the concern, because some of the jobs you need a sturdy person for them to do the job, or maybe they might have some height requirements, or physically challenging atmospheres might be there for some jobs. For an example, separate cabin for managers, special cabins for supervisors, health conditions for workers, adequate storeroom for storekeepers. Those are some of the requirements that you should have to consider when you want to do a job analysis. Moving on. So let us have a look. Why do we do a job analysis? So what's the purpose of it? Job analysis plays an important role in recruitment and selection, job evaluation, job designing, deciding compensation and benefit packages. So there are many aspects need to be considered when you have to have a job analysis. So that has to be embedded on the requirements of the job analysis. That's the very purpose for you to have the job analysis. If you can have a look at the process over here, so we do have performance analysis, evaluation and appraisals. Then we do have compensation of benefit, compensation and compensation management. Then again, within the job itself, you have job designing and redesign, enrichment and enlargement within the job itself. Then you do have training and development needs analysis. Then again, to start with, as we said, we go on the recruitment and selection, creating a right job fit and the right job fit for the job as well as for the candidate. So it has to be a match. So it has to be a good marriage. For you to have the good marriage, you should do the groundwork and you should know the purpose of job analysis. So as we said over here, you could have a look. It's a process, so it's ongoing. So you'll have to, make sure all this process has been addressed when you have to do the purpose of the job analysis. We have said over here again, recruitment and selection, performance analysis, training and development. So those are the processes we did discuss on the last slide, but we'll be discussing the details. You have had some details describing why do we have different aspects that need to be considered within the job analysis. for the purpose of job analysis. Moving on. Then again, as we said, we have compensation management, job design and redesign. So let us have a look of some of the advantages of job analysis. This helps, the job analysis will necessarily help the personal manager or the head of recruitment at the time of recruitment and selection of the right man for the right job. As we mentioned, back and forth, we'll be repeating this term, right man for the right job. So this has to be a healthy marriage. If not, the divorce settlement or the cost of damage will be high. So you have to make sure you get the right man for the right job. Okay, moving on. It helps the personal manager to understand the extent and the scope of training required in that field. Then again, it helps evaluating the job in which the worth of the job must be evaluated. In those instances where smooth workforce is required in concern, when he has to avoid overlapping of authority, responsibility, relationship to, so that the distortion in chain of command doesn't exist. It also helps to chalk out the compensation plans for the employees. It also helps the personal manager to undertake performance appraisals effectively. Okay. Then again, a personal manager usually he conducts a job analysis in two ways. So one is a job description. Then number two, job specification, or you can call it as person specification. So how do you do a job analysis? In two ways. First one is a job description. Then again, you have the job specification. So let us produce a job description for a job within an organization. So let us see what do you have within a job description. So basically, you will have title and the designation of the job. So you will have a title. So let it be, if you have to apply, you say, how do I say, team leader. So this is the title. Then again, you will have a location. Suppose you say you're working in London, so it says London. Then nature of duties, you will have, and the operations to be performed in the job. And nature of authority, then you have the nature of the authority and the responsibility relationship and necessary qualifications required for the job, because some jobs just need some qualifications, and most of the jobs, as you know, they need qualification, and some of the ones they need experience more than the qualification. So likewise, you may have overlapping experience as well as qualification. So when you have to design the job description, those details need to be added and considered. Then again, you will have relationship of the job with other jobs in concern, a provision of physical working condition or work environment required to perform in performance of that job. So is that clear for you? I hope that you have a better understanding. So how to produce a job description. So those are the elements that you need to be considered. So that's about the title of the job, designation, you say, then again duties and responsibilities, the authority, necessary qualifications, and relationship of the job with the other jobs, as well as the physical conditions or the work environment that need to be considered. So let us have a look at typical job description for a specific vacancy. Let us say for the post of business manager. If you can have a look at this, it says business manager. Then you have the title over here. When you have the employer, and you have the salary, the job type, responsible to, says chief executive, and the responsibility is to work collaboratively with the senior management team. And the location, as we mentioned, so the location, right, as says in Norfolk. So then again, it has one of the core elements. It says the purpose of the post and roles and responsibilities. It says business development. Then again, they're talking about relationship management, delivery. Then again, general attributes or some other conditions. So these are additional attributes. We call it general attributes or additional conditions that has to be met. This is not necessarily you will have to meet the conditions. However, if having those conditions will have an added advantage for the applicants. So let us have a look of some of the advantages of job description. It helps supervisors assigning work to the subordinates so that he can guide and monitor their performance. It helps recruitment and selection procedures. It assists the manpower planning. It also it's helpful in the performance appraisal. It helps in job evaluation in order to decide the rate of remuneration for a specific job. So let us have a look at 1.3, produce a person specification for a specific vacancy within an organization. So let us have a look, person specification or job specification. So it indicates minimum acceptable human qualities which helps to perform a job. Job specification translates the job description into human qualifications so that the job can be performed in better manner. Job specification helps in hiring an appropriate person for an appropriate position. So you should understand why do you have a job specification. So it helps in hiring the appropriate person, the right person for the appropriate position. Then again, as I told you, that's the right person to the right job. So let us have a look at what does it contain. So it has a job title, then again education and qualifications. Then again you have physical and other related attributes, physique and mental health, special attributes and abilities, maturity and dependability, and relationship of that job with other jobs in concern. So these are the typical person specification should include. So as about job title, designation, educational qualifications, physical and other related attributes, physical and mental health, special attributes and abilities, maturity and dependability, relationship of the job with the other jobs in concern. So let us have a look. So we are having the same job title which we had earlier, business development manager, and let us have a look at the person specification. As we mentioned, we have the qualifications over here, experience, work related. Then again you have skills, attitudes and knowledge. Then you have personal qualities and aptitudes. So if you can have a look under each requirement, we have put two columns. One, it says essential, then again desirable. Again, we said essential, then again desirable. Just have a look. So you do have some places it is ticked essential, some places it is ticked desirable. So you will have to make sure most of the candidates, they made the essential requirements for, and again for you to have the desirable qualifications or attributes, you will have a better chance of getting selected for the job. So have a look at the business development manager, how the person's specification, then again they've put the essential and the desirable attributes that need to be required for the post of business development manager. So let us have a look. What are the advantages of job specification? It helps primarily screening the selection procedure. Then again, it helps giving due justification for each job, because it gives a clear indication and what are the basic essential requirements. Then again, preferable or additional attributes that are not mandatory, that would be present, will be helpful for the job. It helps in designing and training and development programs. It helps supervisors for counseling and monitoring performance of the employees. Then again, it helps the job evaluation. Then it will necessarily help the management to take decisions regarding promotion, transfers, and giving extra benefits to the employees. Okay, that's about learning outcome 1. So then again, on learning outcome 1, we learned first thing, that's on job description. We had job specification. So these are part of job analysis. Okay, so that's about learning outcome 1. So let us move on to learning outcome 2. We'll be discussing how the law and employment legislation would have an impact on recruiting personnel. So let us say it says explain the purpose of recruitment of current employment legislation when recruiting personnel. So let us have a look at employment laws. Employment laws were put in place to protect workers from wrongdoing by the employers. Without those statutes, workers would be vulnerable to a number of threats. The key employment laws include discrimination, minimum wage, workplace safety and health laws, as well as workers' compensation and child labor laws. In the recent years, there has been a negative response to employment laws. That's a negative response. Some employers have been working to try to reduce the legal protections given to workers in the name of higher profits. And this is another terminology they tend to call exploitation of workforce. So let us have a look at some of the employment laws. So we call it employment acts. So we do have Employment Rights Act in 1996. This is to set out and to protect the contractual rights of employees. Then again, you have Equal Pay Act, as in 1970, ensures the salary negotiations are not biased on gender. Let it be whatever the gender it might be, so there shouldn't be any discrimination based on the gender. Then again, you have Minimum Wages Act. This ensures that the pay offered adheres to the legal minimum to allow a decent living wage. Then again, Equality Act protects job seekers from discrimination based on a wide range of subjects during every step of the recruitment process. Then again, you have working time directives, guarantees employees fair treatment in terms of working hours and time off for rest. And as you know, some of the directives you tend to have in some of the industries, you tend to have 4 on, 4 off, 3 on, 3 off, and you should have some contracts of 37.5 or maybe 48 hours you work and you get 48 hours off as 4 on, 4 off. So these are some of the directives and some of the work time directives that has been active, and some are more specific for industries as well. Then again, you have Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, allows ex-offenders to reapply for work without disclosing spent convictions in order to remove bias from the decision-making process. Okay, let us have a look at some more employment laws. Immigration and Asylum Nationality Act prevents illegal employment in the UK by setting in place document checks to ensure eligibility of every job applicant. You have Data Protection Act, ensures the responsible management of any personal data relating to the job applicant. So it safeguards your personal data. Then again, Gang Masters Licensing Act regulates the agencies that place vulnerable workers, agricultural work, shellfish collecting and packaging industries. Then you have Data Protection Act, one of the updated acts from the 1998. You have a 2018 version which explains the data protection principles, rights and obligations. It summarizes the key points. You need to know, answers frequently asked questions, and contains practical checklists to help you comply. So you would have heard GDPR. So let us have a look at the next section, that is 2.2, evaluate how employment legislation is incorporated into organizational policies and procedures for the recruitment and selection of personnel. The aim of such policy is to ensure that a transparent and unbiased recruitment selection process is followed. So you should have, necessarily this will imply you to have a transparent and unbiased recruitment selection policy and process. One that results the appointment of the best candidate based solely on merit and the best fit within the organization, values, the philosophy and its goals. The reason to have such a recruitment and selection policy is to ensure the job description meets the business requirements. The candidates are assessed against the consistent selection and criteria at every stage, and against to make sure the recruitment process is lawful. Then again, to see candidate can be confident in a genuine job offer. The process can be followed by all stakeholders. So let us have a look at suitability of having such a legislation or the policy embedded onto the recruitment system. Writing an accurate position description is an important part of the recruitment process. It describes primary tasks involved as well as the core competencies required to perform the job role. A good recruitment and selection policy would require those writing job descriptions to give precedence to the competencies that would make most positive contribution to the organizational business requirements, that is flexibility, initiative and leadership, and so on. So the first one we said about the suitability. The second one is about the consistency. A good recruitment and selection policy will also require that hiring managers use predetermined criteria at all stages of recruitment process. This is one of the key phases. If you can have a look, criteria at all stages or phases of the recruitment process, thereby reducing the risk of bias or discrimination. There's an example over here. Reference checks should be conducted before any appointment is made and should be carried out in a consistent manner. Then again, we have a look at the legality. Privacy and equality opportunity legislation require that the recruitment process is conducted in a fair and transparent manner, and a good recruitment selection policy will always make this very clear to the recruiters. Let us have a look at the legality again. Privacy and equality, equal opportunity legislation require that the recruitment process is conducted in a fair and transparent manner. So basically they are saying you should have a fair and transparent recruitment policy, and it should be done in such a way. A good recruitment selection policy will always make this very clear to all recruiters at the all phases. During no stage of the recruitment process, let it be from advertising to issuing the job offer, can there be any discriminatory based on the person's age, sex, religion, nationality, or sexual orientation or disability? There might be some cases on some discriminations may be unintentional. However, you'll have to make sure all this is being embedded onto the system and it is being clearly indicated and the guidelines has been provided to the HR and the recruitment team. Then again, the fourth one is about the credibility. Not all jobs advertisements are genuine. Some are placed by organizations wishing to build up a talent pool, or simply to test the waters and see what's out there. If an organization calls for certain application procedure to be allowed, candidates can feel confident and position they are applying for actual exist, and that their efforts will not be in vain. Candidates can also see you are a reputable employer by a good practices you follow are more likely to want to become an employee of your organization. So you should have the credibility of the organization. So whatever the jobs that we tend to advertise, that has to be genuine. So it's not for the mere purpose of talent pool or test the waters. Then again, transparency. Basically what we are saying over here, you will have to be transparent about your procedures. Every step recruitment and selection policy ensures that all stakeholders in the recruitment process, let it be HR, departmental heads, line managers, are able to follow the process and be confident of the outcome. Candidates should be informed of the status of their application and notified if unsuccessful. Reasons for decision made. Recruitment process should be documented and a transparent appeal process put in place to the candidate if the candidate is unhappy with the outcome. So it has to be transparent. So let us conclude the reason for having such a recruitment and selection policy. A good recruitment and selection policy should be based on principles such as respect for diversity, ethical decision making, selecting according to the merit, equal treatment for all, procedures fairness. Adherence to such policy will not only ensure the job applicants are treated fairly, but will also greatly increase your chances of securing the best possible people for your organization. So we have covered learning outcome 1 and learning outcome 2. We'll be covering learning outcome 3 and 4 on the next slide. Thank you.